You're listening to the Multifamily Leadership Podcast with Patrick Antrim, your source for success strategies for multifamily professionals, CEOs, executive leaders, and aspiring leaders that want to drive high-performance results for their property or portfolio.
All right, welcome multifamily leaders. You are in for a great show today. We sat down with Catherine Swaback with Alliance Residential. In this interview, we talked with Catherine about how she discovered multifamily on the agency side of the business, working with large brands, developing strategies on some of the consumer products you and I enjoy on a daily basis, and how she made that transition and shift into multifamily and is leveraging those same strategies for the internal marketing department for Alliance Residential. We also discover what Alliance Residential is doing differently with lease-ups and what smaller companies can do to leverage the same strategies. Catherine shares the Alliance Residential national footprint and the strategy for individual brands and properties. And later, I talk about why multifamily is special to her. It's a really great part of the episode. And now, to bring it all home, we're going to be talking about how creative strategies can be deployed for existing properties or for even repositioned properties. Maybe you have a B or C property. You don't have to be a lease-up to deploy some of these strategies. And then finally, how Alliance Residential is making multifamily cool again. So let's jump right in. A lot of people that are tuning in would like to know, how did you discover multifamily?
I fell into multifamily like a lot of people do.
Right.
I think it's kind of funny. We all say that, I just kind of ended up here one day. I started my career in the advertising agency side. So I worked at several different agencies on the account management side of the business. I did work with a few management companies representing them from a marketing standpoint. So working through collateral materials and things like that for them. But then I decided I wanted to move to more of the client side. And I had heard of Alliance. I had heard of the name. I knew it was a growing company, but I can say now that's about the extent of my knowledge in multifamily at that point. But I came into Alliance knowing they were trying to grow the marketing department. Our department at that point was much smaller than it is now, but it was formed to be more of an in-house agency. So it was a lot of the background that I had already come from, but mixed with the real estate aspect. So I fell into multifamily, I guess is the best way to kind of say that. I've been at Alliance for about 4 years now, and I've grown with the company as we've grown, and kind of started in a smaller sector of our marketing department, moved around, and I've done almost everything and anything within our marketing department, now leading the strategy team.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. So following up on the agency work, you get to work, before multifamily, you got to work with other brands that are investing millions and millions of dollars to figure this stuff out, how to reach people where they are and things like that. So what were you able to bring into multifamily with that background? Was it the design or the strategy, or what is it?
It's kind of looking at things different than what you standardly would see in multifamily. I think now, too, with the extension of our team, we have about 35 people in our marketing department now. We've recently made a lot of changes within our marketing department, bringing in a new VP of marketing from outside the industry, bringing in other talent from outside the industry, a lot of them coming from that agency background. So we're able to look at things a bit differently, realizing that our budgets are smaller, but there's things that we can do and take from other industries that are going to be successful within multifamily that maybe our competitors aren't looking at. They're a lot of times looking at the standard foundational elements within marketing and multifamily marketing, which are very much important. But it's important that we're also adding on paid media, and we're adding on elements that you're not always seeing in multifamily.
Following up, you guys have built a lot of those internal strategies from the marketing to sort of meet the demand. You've built a lot of units.
Yes.
These types of units require a fresh approach, a unique approach, and it's there's some good energy coming through, and it just you can kind of feel it when you come in. It's hard to talk about it on camera, but when you come into the property, from the design selection, what are you guys doing with the lease-ups differently? I mean, are you getting started earlier? Are you doing more things on social media? And to follow up that question, I'd like to understand, a lot of our viewers don't have the robust team. They might be figuring out how to do it on their own, or they're a smaller company. But Are there anything or is there anything that they can do that can leverage, if it's social media or using Instagram?
Yeah.
To do what you're doing?
Certainly. We have a heavy focus on lease-ups within Alliance just because we have so many. We're not only owned assets, like here we're at Stetson, but we also have a lot of third-party clients. We're primarily a third-party operator. So we have about 46 lease-ups that are in some stage.
Really?
Just in 2016, in some stage of the life cycle of construction into full-blown lease-up stage right now. But we are starting early, like you said. It's all about looking at things holistically. Because our marketing team is in-house, we are right there with our development team and our operations team to make sure that we're looking at things holistically, that our marketing plan is in place. So it's all about starting early. I would say for those companies that maybe don't have the full team, you can still be doing exactly what we're doing by looking at a full plan. So we want to get started early. It's all about brand awareness, making sure that people in the area know that the community is coming. And then making sure that we're tying what we're doing for marketing into our leasing goals. You know, marketing is not something that can be thought of on the side by any means. It's something that needs to be integrated into how we're going to go about leasing up this property. A lot of what we do as well, and again, this can be done at any budget level, is making sure that what we're doing at a corporate level or at a marketing team level is translated to the site. So we develop the brands, and we develop all of the collateral and just the strategic direction, and all of our marketing elements are really done in-house, but our on-site teams are really an extension of that marketing team. You know, everything they're doing from outreach to they're handling a lot of their own social media, they're handling their reputation management. All of those elements need to be tied in with the voice, the tone that we've set at a corporate level. You know, for a prospect walking in, it's just as important, or even I would say much more important, when we're talking about actually converting that lead, that they're coming in, they're seeing the website, they're having that exact same experience when they walk into the leasing office. So it's all about communication, it's all about teamwork, and it's just about being really strategic with our efforts and making sure everything we're doing is somehow tying to that end goal.
Right. You guys have essentially a national footprint, right?
Yes.
I mean, so what's special about what you're doing is you're carrying across multiple states, and that's a challenge sometimes. I mean, is it just coming up with that voice, communicating that voice, and giving the on-site teams more tools to sort of have the digital assets instead of creating it on their own and, you know, fragmenting it? You're giving them more tools?
We definitely give them all the tools that they need. I would say we have a foundational base. We've done a lot of lease-ups at this point. We've perfected that strategy. But a lot of what happens is going to be specific. So every single property has their own brand. We don't do one brand that then is disseminated to all properties. So every property is looked at individually. We have different ownership groups on every property. We develop that brand, that specific brand for the property. The site teams are very much included in that. So we'll start with foundational elements that we know work, but then it's up to the regional strategist that oversees that region, as well as the operations team that's actually going to be on site and in that area to understand what are those unique aspects that make that property different. It's all about looking at the differentiators. Why do our prospects want to live at that particular property versus the one down the street? Right,
that's great. And you know, a lot of companies today are taking their marketing strategy, getting together with their HR strategy and creating a great employer brand. And I was thankful to sit down with you and pick your brain on the employment branding stuff. So if you're seeing this video and you're enjoying the conversation here, you'll have to read the article and the time I spent with Catherine. It's really impressive work. We appreciate what you've done for the industry also. So tell me you came from agency, you get to work for this great company, you're doing these great things with these lease-ups. Having that many lease-ups, I imagine, the energy is just constant. You know, the energy's up. What about multifamily is special to you? Like, what is it? The relationships? Is it getting to develop and see something come to life? What do you think it is? I mean, if you were telling somebody else, like, because I think we were talking, you're like, I didn't really even know. Like, it wasn't that you didn't know that apartment buildings and development, existed. It's just, I mean, did you grow up and want to be director of marketing strategy? Alliance, at least? Or?
I think that at the end of the day, we are developing lifestyles. We're creating lifestyles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think there's something really special and unique about that
Sure.
Compared to other industries. So specifically in multifamily, I mean, you know, things are changing constantly. So with our pipeline right now, we're the #1 national developer 3 years running.
Wow.
So our own pipeline is continuous and growing,
Right.
but we're also adding a ton of additional properties to our portfolio on a daily, on a weekly basis. So there's always something new going on.
Right.
Every property is different. Like I said, every property has their own brand, but they also have their own budget. They also have their own property goals. So
Sure.
Every day is different.
Right.
And just the opportunities within multifamily, I think are the reason why I've grown to just love Alliance and grown to love this industry. Every single role that I've been in, if I look back on it, didn't exist prior to me being in it.
Right.
So, you know, it's funny, but you kind of make your own way based on the
Sure.
need, but Alliance is great about that. I mean, we see a ton of people that maybe start in one area of the company, but we have the need. That particular associate can demonstrate how they're going to fulfill that need or why we even need that
Sure.
sort of component within our marketing team or, you know, within our operations teams, wherever that may be. And Alliance is great about cultivating that culture and,
Sure.
and growth for that associate.
Yeah, and as a development partner or third-party accountant, I mean, I've selected a lot of the sort of robust management companies
Yes.
over my career, and one of the things that you're looking for is, you know, their ability to collect the right people, get them working effectively, and getting them to rent more. And time is money, so leasing up faster and getting those strategies right. I mean, you guys have had probably in that much development, you've learned all the things that can, you know, how to avoid certain things, I would suspect.
Yes.
With so much development in the pipeline and being such a leading management company, I mean, if I'm deciding who to pick to partner with or to hire to execute a lease-up strategy, I mean, obviously you guys have that depth of knowledge, but what interests me most is with that sort of reach, with that many units in the pipeline, you have to have, I mean, I just know when I was doing development, you do one deal, you have to really understand the demographics of the area, what's local to that market. That's what I liked about what you said about how each property has its own unique culture and its own unique brand and its own unique strategy, perhaps. But what kind of data are you coming out of? I mean, if I'm an investor owner and I'm going to select you as a third-party management company, it seems to me that you have access to some supreme data around this process and what's happening in certain markets. Does that impact? You know?
So data is driving everything that we do. That's a lot of the reason why our marketing department can be so successful in so many different markets, because we're able to basically take everything we're learning from data and translate that into our marketing tactics. So you brought up demographics, and I think that is so important that we're looking at much more than we typically or historically have looked at from a demographic standpoint. I mean, I always joke, you can say that every apartment community or lease-up is young professionals, maybe some empty nesters. So part of what our marketing strategy department does is really dive into that target demographic. So we use a variety of data sources to not only layer on the demographic data, but also the psychographic data as well. So where are renters shopping? How are they consuming media? Where are they going out to eat? You know, what are their favorite sort of brands that they associate with? And that's how we start to really identify what that target consumer is. Again, that's different for every single property, for every single market. And we can actually start to create a roadmap of reaching that target demographic that way.
Right. It's almost, okay, so you're getting more clear on what, you know, the target market wants, but so how do you incorporate that into the design? I mean, I'm looking here and it's pretty cool. You've got some really interesting things going on here. We have some games in the background, and I think there's like 100 different games you can play in each machine, but does that research and that study, how does that affect or influence the design build part? I mean, do you get to be part of those meetings?
We certainly do, and I think that's why it's so important that we're all in-house. A lot of what we're doing is looking at that data in the construction phases. You know, what sort of amenities are going to resonate with that target demographic? What's going to be new and exciting for the area even? You know, what are the differentiators? But then part of what my team does as well is once the property is built, we can take that eagle eye view or that outside view to say, okay, these really are our differentiators based on what we're seeing in the market. So it's helping build the amenities and craft the look and feel of the property based on the data. But then our team is actually going out and looking at the market, understanding the pipeline, and then saying, you know, we may think that the key differentiator here is our rooftop deck, but however, all of our communities around this area have that rooftop deck. Let's focus on this particular aspect from a messaging standpoint.
Sure, that's great. And so there's no doubt about it, you guys are leaders in the design and the lease up and even development, and third party management is growing really strong. That's good news. That's a great indication that things are going well. So all of this, if you're not in a community where there's a lease up or a massive investment in redevelopment or a new build, how can you take a lot of what you're doing to the next level for a company that's, maybe a B property or a property that's going through a reposition? There are things that we can do just in choices and clubhouse, amenities, things like that. What can a company do to leverage some of the strategies you're doing, but then let's say they don't have a lease up?
Yes.
I mean, they're just trying to rent more and reach a market and make the best of what they've got.
Yes.
They've got a great location.
Well, we can start looking at the same sort of information from a demographic standpoint, understanding what our renters like and don't like, and it's all about customer service too. So we put a heavy focus on our on-site teams, really listening to that renter. I mean, that's how we keep our retention up. So it's from a property that may not have the budget or necessarily be investing those sort of dollars, just communicate with your residents. What do they like? What's going to be something that is going to, resonate with their lifestyle? Is it the coffee bar in the clubhouse, or is it more resident events? Are there a ton of pets on property? Do we need to be looking at resident events that pull in that piece of their lifestyle a bit more? So it's just about understanding that demographic and being there.
Yeah, that's great. So let me talk more about your team, because I know you guys have put out some pretty amazing. I mean, you're making the multifamily apartment industry look cool, which can be challenging. It is cool, but not everybody knows that. And those messaging components are shifting. But you guys have done some great videos.
Yes.
It seems like on your Instagram and your social profiles, if you're not following Alliance Residential, what is the...
So on Facebook, it's just Alliance Residential Company, and then on Instagram, it's Alliance Living. We have a huge following from a social standpoint. That's a large part of our culture.
Sure.
So you'll see the hashtag #IHeartAlliance. Yeah. That's been used about 2,500 times just on public Instagram pages alone, which is huge.
Residents and employees, right?
It's both. It really is. I mean, I think that took off a couple of years ago, but you'll see that on any sort of resident events, corporate events, even down to what we're doing day to day around the office. Something silly happens in a leasing office or even in the corporate environment, and we're taking a picture and hashtagging that.
Yeah, that's great. I know you guys put together a lot of the multi-tunity component, which was amazing.
Yes, by our talent team.
The video of what was the artist that did this song? I can't remember. Was it Adele? No, it wasn't.
Oh yes, we did an Adele parody. That started as part of our kind of culture component. We played that for our national meeting when all of our managers, regionals, VPs all come in town. But then there was a social aspect of that as well, where we were able to push that out and look at that from both a culture standpoint as well as prospective residents through Facebook, and we had something like 18,000 views just on that video.
That's great. That's so amazing. It must have been fun to be part of that process, and I know that even beyond that was a produced, event. It was a video and those kinds of things. But beyond that, you guys are doing some great things in your social channels to really elevate the industry and take our brand as an industry to the next level. And it makes it exciting because we're trying to attract leaders into the industry, and hopefully they can see a video like this and say, wow, I enjoy marketing, I enjoy strategy, I enjoy different elements of how I could maximize my own value, and this would be something I could do. And We appreciate you spending time and doing that.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about mentorship. Do you have anybody that has sort of helped you get to the next level, or what do you think someone out there that's considering a career in this industry, who should they reach out to? How would you go about sharing more about mentorship? My mentor, I would say, at Alliance has really been Robert Hicks, who is our executive vice president over Southwest and Mountain. When I started in the industry, I started on developing our brands and essentially handling our branding efforts across the country. But then I quickly moved into a regional marketing manager role overseeing the Southwest and Mountain region. Sure.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned from him is just how marketing fits within multifamily. I mean, there's so much to learn.
Sure.
And I'd mentioned, I think at the earlier part of this interview, it's not marketing and then operations. It's very much integrated. So it's really important that we understand how our marketing efforts are translating into something that operations folks understand or even care about,
Sure.
But how at the end of the day that's impacting our leads and our leases and our revenue. So Robert has been someone that I felt like has been a huge component in my career of just teaching me that, letting me be a part of a lot of those conversations that may not necessarily be 100% marketing focused, but that ultimately at the end of the day will impact that.
Yeah, that's great. And Robert's probably going to watch this video and think, wow, you know what? That's awesome. Thank you. But that's leadership in itself. I mean, it's people. It's a relationship-driven business, and we've got to understand that it all comes through the benefit of getting effective and getting value, about serving people and those types of things.
Yes.
So, well, listen, it was great talking to you. We appreciate it. And we're looking forward to your panel discussion at the upcoming Multifamily Leadership Summit. Until then, stay tuned. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the Multifamily Leadership Podcast. For show notes and other resources, visit multifamilyleadership.com.